Right now at 5, the Bay Area is feeling the heat and trying to beat it. How long before our high temperatures back down? Waymo takes the next step toward operating at SFO. But what will it mean for the drivers making their living off airport rides?
Waymo is going to take a lot of customers from the drivers at the airport, which will not be good for them.
And it's not your typical police car.
They didn't like lowriders. They were hating into lowriders. And then they found themselves with one.
Hear the history behind Oakland PD's Lowrider and how it shifted a narrative in the community.
CBS News Bay Area Evening Edition with Ryan Yamamoto.
Oh, we begin with first alert weather. Intense heat returning to the Bay Area with a chance for dangerous thunderstorms as the week moves on. Here's a live look across our region right now. Some spots approaching triple-digit temperatures today, and another unusually hot day in San Francisco today. Thankfully, a strong breeze making things a little bit more comfortable for people without air conditioning. First alert meteorologist Zoe Mintz is tracking the heat and that threat of storms.
Yes, there is the chance for storms Thursday and Friday. Is actually a tropical system is going to be heading up the west coast of the United States. That same tropical system could potentially bring a little bit of moisture to us. It's very uncertain, though, whether or not we'll be seeing any of that rainfall. What we do know, though, is it's definitely going to get a lot cloudier as we step out over the next several days. So, yes, a little bit of fog and cloud coverage along with a slightly stronger onshore wind today has kept our temperatures in San Francisco slightly cooler. Our high temperature today technically was 71 degrees. Although there were parts of downtown that reached 77, it was a lot more comfortable than the 84 that we felt yesterday. Inland communities, you are still in the mid to upper 90s across those inland East Bay areas. And by tomorrow, we are expecting those highs to get even warmer. We're expecting those inland communities once again to be right on the cusp of that triple-digit high temperature mark. So keep that in mind. One more day of this heat, one more day of those temperatures anywhere from 5 to nearly 15 degrees above average. Even our coastal communities, we are going to be seeing these highs in the low 70s tomorrow. Enjoy a few peaks of sunshine while you can before that storm system heads our way. And I'll break down all the details on what you can expect coming up over the next couple of days in just a bit. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Zoe. Our first alert weather team is staying on top of the heat wave. You can get the latest conditions on air and streaming on the free CBS News app. Well, South Bay San Jose neighborhood shaken up after 3 people were shot and killed earlier this morning. Police say the suspect is still on the loose. Devin Feely joins us now with the latest details on this investigation.
Yeah, Ryan, a lot that we're still learning at this point. Investigators have been out all day trying to get any details on a suspect in this triple homicide. The shooting happened around 12:30 in the morning at an apartment complex on Chenoweth Avenue near Snell Avenue in the Oak Grove neighborhood. Police say they received multiple calls of gunshots and a woman screaming for help. When officers finally got there, they found a woman outside. She had been shot at least once. She would later die at the hospital. Police say that 2 more people were found inside of that home who had also been shot. They were a man and a woman. The woman died at the scene. The man died later at the hospital. A neighbor tells us that she heard the gunshots.
These 3 innocent victims lost their lives. We want to bring justice to the victims and their families. We want to make sure that the suspect is apprehended and put behind bars.
San Jose police say it's still unknown if the victims are related or if they knew the suspect. There's no word at this point on a motive, and police say that this is an isolated incident. Ryan?
All right, thanks, Devin. Well, a hit-and-run driver in Berkeley mowed down 3 pedestrians in different locations this morning. Police say they drove onto a sidewalk and later tried to carjack another person. Ann Makovic has more on how this all unfolded right by an elementary school.
Yeah, it was quite a rampage in the middle of a morning. In total, 3 people were hit and taken to the hospital, and there were 5 separate crime scenes under investigation today. This is the car police say hit 3 people this morning. The windshield smashed, scratches along the sides, abandoned as the driver tried to make a getaway. Here's a look at the outline of the driver's path. This all occurring at around 8 in the morning during commute hours near Emerson Elementary School, south of the UC Berkeley campus. This video from Citizen App showing police responding to one of 5 crime scenes. A witness says they saw a man walking his dog on the sidewalk when the car drove up, hit him, and dragged him until he broke free. That is when the witness says he heard the driver hit the gas, crashing into a woman who was jogging on Belrose Avenue. Then the driver took off again. Police say a third person was also hit before the driver ditched the gray BMW sedan next to Emerson Elementary, tried to carjack another vehicle, and then ran away. The suspect was found and arrested 2 blocks away on College Avenue. All of the people who were hit were adults. We're still waiting for word on how they're doing this evening. Ryan.
All right, thanks, Ann. Well, shocking video captured on the Citizens app showing a car, look at this, dangling off a roof in Berkeley. The vehicle's front tires are hanging off a parking structure while the rear tires are still on the ground on top of that structure. Police officers and firefighters responded to the scene. Our chopper got aerial footage of the crash. You can see that car broke through the barriers on the side of the Regent Medical Center, scattering debris on the street below. A tow truck was on scene working to pull the vehicle back onto the concrete. Well, the suspect in Charlie Kirk's assassination made his first court appearance today. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is accused of shooting and killing the conservative activist last week. Robinson is being held at the Utah County Jail without bail. Prosecutors in Utah announced multiple formal charges against Robinson earlier this afternoon. Those charges include aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, 2 counts of obstruction of justice, 2 counts of witness tampering, and committing a violent offense in the presence of a child. Utah County Attorney also said he will seek the death penalty. Meanwhile, FBI Director Kash Patel testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee. He provided a briefing on Kirk's assassination and defended his record during that hearing. Patel then clashed with Democratic senators who scrutinized his leadership.
It's my time, not yours.
My God.
If you want to talk about
dividing this country,
it is my
I follow
time.
you on your social media posts that
It is
tear
my
this country
time
apart.
to address
There
your
should be a unifying.
falsehoods.
Oh,
You are an
you can try
embarrassment
all
to the
you
division
want
in this country.
to not take
It is my
responsibility
time.
for what
You
you
had
have
your
said.
time.
Sir, you're
Your
making
time
a
is
mockery of this
over.
committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
You
The
know how
people
far
of New
we've
Jersey
come
tell me
since
what my
Utah.
time is. You can't lecture me.
Well, Patel will be back on Capitol Hill tomorrow to face more questions from the House. Up next, demanding justice, we're going to hear from the family of a man stabbed to death in front of his son as this alleged killer makes his first court appearance. And self-driving cars are coming to SFO. One critic tells us this is just another blow to his livelihood.
Well, Waymo is going to take a lot of customers from the drivers at the airport. Uber is taking a lot from them already.
And as we look back at the life of big screen icon Robert Redford, we look at the legacy of his environmental activism right here in California. Well, the man accused of fatally stabbing a father while he was walking his son home from school stood in front of a San Francisco judge this afternoon. 42-year-old Daniel Patrick Rodriguez will face charges for murder and child endangerment. It all happened as Robert Byrd had just picked up his son from Commodore Sloat Elementary School. This happened on Wednesday afternoon. When prosecutors say he got into some sort of argument with a driver in a crosswalk and was stabbed. We heard from Gloria Berry, a family member of the victim, who says she and her family never thought a day like this would come.
And to do that in front of my grandson, damn near demonic.
Berry also says her grandson has not returned to school out of fear that seeing the crosswalk where his dad died might re-traumatize him. Well, today, voters in San Francisco's Sunset District will decide whether their supervisor gets to keep his job. Voters have until tonight to cast their ballots in the recall of District 4 Supervisor Joel Engardio. The biggest factor driving his opponents, Engardio's support for Measure K, which closed the upper grade highway to cars. If the recall is successful, Mayor Daniel Lurie will select a temporary replacement. Next June, voters would then pick a supervisor to serve the rest of Engardio's term, which expires 6 months later. Then they would head back to the ballot box in November 2026 to select a supervisor for a full term. The city of San Jose is showing off their support for the Golden State Valkyries. They raised a flag at City Hall with Valhalla now extending into the South Bay. San Jose will host the Valkyries' first ever playoff game at the SAP Center tomorrow night because of a scheduling conflict at Chase Center. The Valkyries now face an elimination game facing the top seed Minnesota Lynx. We're going to have live pre- and post-game coverage of tomorrow's game on our sister station, KPIX Plus. The game tips off at 6:30. Okay, switching gears to weather right now. I guess one way to kind of describe today, especially around the Bay Area, hot.
Yeah, it was another hot one out there, although it wasn't as hot in San Francisco as it was
nice
yesterday.
here.
It was kind of nice, especially closer to the coast where there was a slightly stronger onshore breeze. And as you can see, a lot more of that cloud coverage and that fog, that marine layer that holds on tight. So that's actually keeping our temperatures slightly more comfortable in downtown. But our inland communities, it's still hot out there, and it's only going to get hotter tomorrow, especially across those inland East Bay areas. We'll be hovering right on the edge of that triple-digit mark from places like Livermore up to Fairfield, including Antioch and Concord, even down into the Santa Clara Valley and our North Bay communities. Mid to lower 80s are expected once again tomorrow. And downtown San Francisco will likely see another day in the mid to upper 70s. But this is the last day of the heat before a big cool down heads our way. I just want to show you, look at what happens to our temperatures by Thursday. All of the Bay Area sees about a 10 to 15 degree cool down. You don't notice those deeper and darker reds filling in our inland communities. Those highs are going to be returning to the low 80s across those inland East Bay areas, 70s across our North and South Bay communities, and 60s in downtown San Francisco and along our coastal communities, as it's going to be a lot cloudier, it's going to be a lot windier, and a lot more active of a weather pattern that's heading our way, as there's actually a storm system that's going to be moving over the Bay Area. It's still a little bit uncertain the exact impacts of this storm system. This is now Tropical Depression Mario. It's going to continue to weaken as it pushes north up to the colder waters in the Pacific. But what it's also going to do is bring a little bit of that moisture our way. That blob of cloud coverage is going to continue to move over the Bay Area, move over central and southern California. But it's still very uncertain exactly how much, if any, of this rain is going to be heading our way. Here's just one of the many, many models that we have, and basically all of them are conflicting. There's a lot of model variability right now. So whether or not we actually squeeze out a few drops of rain from the system, still a big question mark on it. Our most recent models actually have us seeing a little bit more moisture than what we saw earlier this morning, but by tomorrow morning, all of that could change. So make sure you stay up to date. What we do know, though, is it is going to be cloudier. It is going to be a lot cooler by the time that we step out later this week, as that storm system is going to be moving directly overhead. That storm system, again, it was Tropical Storm Mario. Now it's Tropical Depression Mario. Either way, it is going to be bringing us a lot cooler, a lot cloudier, and a lot more windy weather. We already saw a little bit of those winds picking up today, and those winds are ushering in that marine layer. We actually saw a lot more of the Golden Gate earlier this morning. That fog is getting thicker and thicker. By tomorrow, we'll also be seeing that thick fog and then upper level cloud coverage emerging ahead of that storm system. So tomorrow afternoon is, again, the last day. These temperatures are going to be about 10 to 15 degrees above average. It's one more day of the heat. I think we can all manage to make it through, because if we take a look at the next 10 days or so, again, there is a little bit of a roller coaster on the way, but tomorrow is the peak of it. Those temperatures by Thursday and Friday staying below average in the low 80s across our inland communities, again, with a lot more fog and cloud coverage. Warming up slightly by the time that we step out this weekend and into early next week, but it's a couple of degrees above average. No extreme heat in our future, which is really, really fantastic news, because what is going to be arriving on Thursday and Friday, along with the potential for rain, is fire danger. Because even though our temperatures are going to be a bit cooler Thursday and Friday, which is a good thing, there is still dry fuel at the ground. And if we are unable to squeeze out the moisture from this system like we're hoping to, there could be some dry lightning in our forecast on Thursday and Friday. And again, that dry lightning could potentially spark a few isolated wildfire threats. Again, that's all something that we'll keep a very, very close eye on as we step out into the later parts of this upcoming week. Thursday and Friday, there could be a few showers. There might be dry air and dry thunderstorm activity. I have my fingers crossed, though, we actually can get a little bit of the moisture out there from this system. The good news is, though, no matter what, even if we don't see rain from it, it's going to be bringing us all a cool down, which is so nice. It's been way too hot out there for areas by the bay and closer to our coastal communities that don't have any air conditioning. We finally are going to be feeling much more comfortable air by the time that we step out later this week, and it's likely going to stick around into the weekend of weather ahead of us before a little bit of a warm up heads our way. Again, it's kind of a little bit of a hit and miss. Everything's coming our way, but at least it's only one more day of this heat.
So as Mario makes its way up north, though, are we going to see more of those muggy conditions outside?
It's going to be a little bit more humid, but
Okay.
not as humid as what we saw last week when our dew points were in the 60s.
I was sweating.
Yeah, no. It's not going to be maybe 55, 58. I don't think
Okay.
we'll reach that 60-degree dew point, which is that muggy meter point.
All right, thanks, Zoe. Well, up next, we're going to take a look at how lowriders went from a target for police to a celebrated part of Bay Area culture.
We was needed something to bridge the police and the community.
We'll meet the man who created this special lowrider, how the vehicle is credited with bringing Oakland closer together. Plus, one Bay Area county has become a hotspot for travelers who may need different accommodations. We're going to talk to the people making wine country a place for everyone.
There's no reason why anybody shouldn't be able to fly in a balloon, whether they're wheelchair bound or not.
Oh, the countdown is on for the Lowrider Parade in San Francisco, and we've been bringing you stories about lowrider culture leading up to that big event. Lowriding was illegal in California in the 80s, putting it at odds with police departments all across the Bay Area. But in Oakland, that clash took a new turn that sparked a cultural shift. Kevin Coe shows us how.
This car is designed with 10 switches. It do front and back, it do side to side, it do a pancake, it do a lot of stuff.
Jose Cheo Ortiz has been lowriding for decades, but there isn't another 1991 Ford Crown Victoria that means more to him and Oakland than this.
It was an officer that got killed in the line of duty.
In 1994, Oakland police officer Miguel Soto was shot and killed. In that same year, Ortiz renovated the fallen officer's patrol car at the request of OPD.
We was needed something to bridge the police and the community and the use of the community, and it was the perfect tool.
The OPD lowrider is often at car shows, schools, and Bay Area events. It's a stark contrast from the 80s, when Oakland police often targeted lowriders.
So it's more easy now to deal with the OPD versus 31 years ago. 31 years ago, I don't know why I'm still alive, because, I was the most hated guy over here through the department.
For those of us growing up here in Oakland, East Oakland, we certainly know lowriders. And it's a positive for the police and the fire department.
Oakland City Council member Noel Gallo says the OPD lowrider sparked some initial controversy, but soon became something other departments wanted for themselves. In 1995, Ortiz renovated this 1986 Chevy Caprice Classic into the Oakland Fire Department's official lowrider. Since then, he's helped build more than 26 lowriders for police and fire departments nationwide.
31 years ago, the police officer of Oakland, they didn't like lowriders. They were hating into lowriders. And then they found themselves with one, their own one. OPD needs to be part of the community. And they proved themselves.
And we'll continue to bring you the stories at the heart of lowrider culture, all leading up to our coverage of San Francisco's Lowrider Parade. It'll be the first time a lowrider parade has been televised, start to finish. You can catch it this Saturday, September 20th, beginning at 1 p.m. on PIX Plus and streaming on the CBS News app. Up next, passengers at SFO will soon be able to hop in a self-driving car, but not everyone is on board with the plan.
If these cars are stuck on the road, everybody will be stuck.
We're going to hear from a struggling taxi driver who says this will make it even harder to survive. And candidates for California governor laying out their plans to take on the Trump administration. We sit down with a leading contender who's got plenty of experience taking on the president. Plus, acting legend Robert Redford leaves behind a long legacy of environmental activism right here in California. We look at his efforts to make sure the beauty of our state is preserved for future generations.
He really meant a lot to me as an environmentalist, even when I was a child, in particular watching like Electric Horseman, this idea of like fighting for what you think is right no matter what.
Right now at 5:30, San Francisco residents could soon use Waymo to get to and from SFO. Mayor Daniel Lurie approved a program that allows the robotaxis to operate at the airport, but as Lauren Tom shows us, not everyone is on board.
For the last 2 years, OC has been navigating the hectic curbsides of SFO. On a good day, the taxi driver says he picks up 3 or 4 passengers from the airport.
Waymo coming in again, it'll be something else.
OC says ride-hailing apps like Uber and Lyft have already chipped away at his business. And with Waymo about to enter the airport loop, he worries his few daily rides could all but disappear.
Well, Waymo is going to take a lot of customers from the drivers at the airports, which will not be good for them because already Uber is taking a lot from them already.
Waymo's arrival won't happen all at once. Under a new pilot permit with SFO, operations will roll out in 3 phases. First, vehicles with trained specialists behind the wheel. Next, driverless rides for Waymo and airport staff. And finally, commercial trips for paying customers with no driver at all.
We need to acknowledge it's a unique environment, and we need to give ourselves the flexibility to understand what it's like to have a truly autonomous vehicle on our roadways before we get to those customer operations.
SFO says the program will start at the Kiss and Fly area by the rental car center, away from terminal roadways, with passenger rides possibly launching by year's end.
Navigating terminal roadways, merging with other lanes, cars coming in and out of curbside area. It's a very dynamic environment, and we want to be sure we've got the flexibility to have a safe and efficient operation.
But OC sees that dynamic environment as a potential roadblock. Airport driving, he says, is tense and unpredictable, even as a human.
If these cars are stuck on the road, everybody will be stuck, and everybody's in a hurry. So that wouldn't be fine. So I don't know if they've done enough to take care of those issues.
And as city leaders welcome a new era of driverless travel, drivers like OC wonder whether there will be room for them on the road ahead.
Well, Waymo says it will soon begin serving riders at San Jose Mineta Airport as well. Well, today, Santa Clara County is taking steps to prepare residents for a potential immigration crackdown. County leaders, along with the San Jose City Council, are voting on a plan to create a regional response team. It will coordinate legal services and other help for immigrants. Since December, the county has approved $13 million for deportation defense and other spending related to immigration enforcement. A group of unions representing university workers now suing the Trump administration. The union represents tens of thousands of UC workers. They filed a lawsuit in San Francisco. It stems from the Trump administration cutting millions of dollars in research funds from UCLA, claiming the school did not do enough to fight anti-Semitism. A judge ordered the funding reinstated. The school and White House are now negotiating a $1.2 billion settlement. In a letter, the White House demanded schools release hiring and admissions data, cooperate with ICE agents, and end some diversity policies.
We want them to back off, allow us to engage in shared governance and academic freedom, to deal with our problems, to have critical debate and discourse, and to do so without being extorted by the federal government.
We reached out to the UC Regents for comment on the lawsuit. We have not heard back yet. After nearly 3 decades in the U.S., a Livermore man has been deported to Mexico. Miguel Lopez was picked up by ICE in San Francisco during a routine immigration check-in and separated from his wife and 3 children. Now he says his life is in constant danger.
I mean, it's pretty dangerous at nighttime, and even during the day, I mean, there's robberies all day long. I wouldn't like my family to live in here, especially my granddaughter. I wouldn't like her to grow up right here. I mean.
Coming up at 6 o'clock, our Katie Nielsen joins Livermore Representative Eric Swalwell on a journey to Mexico to find out what Miguel is facing and how mass deportations are impacting real families in the Bay Area and beyond. Well, a sweet ending to a sour situation. C&H Sugar agreed to settle a lawsuit with Contra Costa County over the foul sewage stench it generated while operating in Crockett. The district attorney's office said the odor violations happened in 2022 at a wastewater treatment plant the company jointly owns. Officials say residents were impacted by both the stench and the unusually high temperatures. C&H Sugar agreed to pay an estimated $500,000 in penalties and costs. Well, tributes are pouring in for Hollywood legend Robert Redford. He died at his home in Utah at the age of 89. Redford became one of the biggest stars in the 60s and the 70s.
What's the matter with you? I can't swim!
Redford was launched into superstardom for the Western Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. He would go on to win his first Oscar, but not as an actor, but as a director for Ordinary People back in 1980. The movie also won Best Picture. Redford left Hollywood for Utah, where he championed independent film. He went on to create the Sundance Institute and Sundance Film Festival. Actress Glenn Close spoke about Redford's passion to get back to the industry that gave him so much.
In an industry that is labeled as selfish and self-serving, he was a man who put his money and his life into what he believed in, which was giving back and giving new voices to young artists.
Along with his Oscar-winning work in Hollywood, Robert Redford was committed to environmental advocacy. He worked closely with the Pitzer College in Southern California, where Conservancy is named for him. Jasmine Viel shows us how his legacy is now being remembered there.
Right here, this is some white sage, and what I like to do with my students is you kind of rub it and you can feel some of the oils.
Pitzer College sophomore Miriam Hafkin didn't grow up watching Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid or other Robert Redford classics. To her, he was more than Hollywood royalty.
He had a major role in the environmental conservation work.
Hafkin is a fellow at the Robert Redford Conservancy for Southern California Sustainability at Pitzer College. She is working to protect and educate others about the natural environment. Founded in 2012 in Claremont, the Oscar-winning actor and director served on the center's board of trustees and visited many times over the years.
It has led to a kind of status quo, and I don't think we can afford that right now.
In 2014, Redford gave a speech at Pitzer when it divested from fossil fuels. The following year, he spoke about climate change at the United Nations.
I'm here today as an environmental advocate.
A native Californian, Redford was born in Santa Monica in 1936. As LA grew, so did Redford's love for protecting the environment.
Suddenly there were skyscrapers and there was pollution. It felt like the city that I loved as a child was taken away from me.
He eventually left California. He saw it change from underneath him.
Conservancy Director Susan Phillips says she grew up admiring Redford.
He really meant a lot to me as an environmentalist. Even when I was a child, in particular watching like Electric Horsemen, this idea of like fighting for what you think is right no matter what.
The Conservancy sits on 12 acres in the middle of the 80-acre Bernard Field Station where students get hands-on experience.
There's almost nothing like this in Southern California.
Robert Redford treated landscapes as characters in his movies and pushed to protect them in real life. And that's exactly what students here started to do by creating documentaries on environmental issues.
One of the sort of direct legacies that we have of his is our Eco Documentaries program. They take the work of an organization and they make it into a story, and they're just incredibly powerful.
A man who wove together his tireless activism with his love of storytelling and inspired so many others to stand up for the earth.
Make sure that his legacy goes on.
And Robert Redford's environmental work also includes environmental documentaries and serving on the board of the Natural Resources Defense Council. Up next, she was at the center of the high-stakes battle in the U.S. Congress. Now Katie Porter wants to become California's next governor.
They often pass one more law and one more law and one more law, and I think it's good to take a step back, look at how all those pieces fit together.
We talked to the former representative about her vision for the Golden State. Plus, Sonoma County has been named as one of the best destinations in the world for accessible travel. We're going to meet the people making sure everyone can enjoy a trip to the wine country. Well, tonight we continue our CBS News California Investigates series, introducing you to the people who want to be your next governor. California correspondent Julie Watts sat down with 11 candidates who have thrown their hats into the ring so far.
Redistricting. What do you think of the governor's plan?
I support the governor's plan.
What do you say to the 40% of California voters who you'll need in order to win, who voted for Trump?
How would I need them in order to win?
Well, unless you think you're going to get 60% of the vote. You think you'll get 60%. Everybody who did not vote for Trump will vote for you. That's what you're thinking.
In a general election, yes. If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
Well, each night, Julie brings you one question with one candidate to give you early insight into who they are and why they want to be your next California governor. Tonight, she sits down with Katie Porter.
Katie Porter is one of the high-profile Democrats running to replace California Governor Gavin Newsom when he turns out next year. She lives in Irvine, describes herself as an educator and consumer protection attorney. She was previously a U.S. Congresswoman, and she says she's running for governor, quote, because she has the experience, grit, and fresh ideas we need to stand up to Trump, lower costs, and grow our economy.
We sat down with each candidate for an in-depth interview covering all the issues that matter to you. But we began by asking what they think our current governor and legislature did right and what they would have done differently. Here's one question with Katie Porter.
Well, California is in a cost crisis, and one thing Governor Newsom did that really brought down costs for people is make school lunch free. I'm a mom of 3 kids. I was spending about $300 a month for their school lunches. When he made school lunches free, that was $300 that I had in my budget. So I think when we talk about bringing down costs, that's a concrete example of him actually doing that, and I'd like to do a lot more of things like that in my time.
And a misstep?
A misstep? I mean, I think the governor himself would tell you that he did not, that he created a lot of frustration around French Laundry. He's been very clear that that was something he should not have done. So I think we all saw in the recall that he apologized for that. He took full responsibility, and he's moving full steam ahead protecting California.
The legislature.
So I think the legislature has begun to really have conversations about what we're going to do about Trump. I think that was right to have that emergency early session to talk about after the election, because I think they understood early on that we might be a lot of miles away from Washington, but what Washington does really affects California's government, right? So our Medi-Cal, it's called Medi-Cal, but a lot of the funding comes from Washington. It's our version of Medicaid.
What is one thing that you think was a misstep that you would have prevented if you were governor?
Well, I would say just generally, I would point the legislature toward doing more to bring down costs, to focus more on that. I think they need to look holistically. So they often pass one more law and one more law and one more law. And I think it's good to take a step back, look at how all those pieces fit together. So when we're talking about housing costs, I'm really glad they're working on that issue. I wish they'd started sooner.
Is there anything that they did that you think increased housing costs or was harmful?
No, I think it's largely been a story of inaction on some of that, and I think some of it is just thinking that somehow this is going to be somebody else's problem. You don't care whose responsibility it is, you just want help. And so I'm glad I think they've made real strides in starting to think about how to bring down the cost of housing.
And Julie moderated the California Governors Forum last week, hosted by APAPA and Sacramento State. You can watch the full forum on KPIX.com. On next at 5, a revealing look at just how many people are using one of the world's most popular chatbots, a new study from San Francisco-based OpenAI.
Straight ahead in sports, sand is running out of the hourglass quickly on the Giants' postseason hopes. And on the players' off day, there's still lots of 49ers talk as the curtain raises on NFL Week 3.
Well, a revealing new study on a wildly popular chatbot, OpenAI, says most people are using ChatGPT for personal needs rather than work. The San Francisco-based company studied 1.5 million chat logs. Researchers say more than 70% of prompts evoke schoolwork, fitness tips, or writing help. ChatGPT is also becoming a substitute for web searches. Other uses include coding, product research, and even relationship advice. So as we switch gears to our weather right now, we don't need ChatGPT because we have a real meteorologist in house.
Yes, no, we do not use ChatGPT over here. We use our brains. We use all of our cool virtual forecasting technology. Science, yes, science is magic, honestly. I don't need any of that AI. But what we do see on our floor is all of the fog out there. And what I want to show you is a really beautiful view of all of the fog soaring through the Golden Gate. That fog has actually gotten thicker since the early morning hours. The start of this time lapse, I think it was at 7 or 8 a.m. Now look at us have us about after 5 p.m. We cannot see the Golden Gate anymore because the fog is again getting thicker and thicker. And that's actually kept our temperatures a few degrees cooler this afternoon. So it was slightly more comfortable in San Francisco. We saw those highs sitting in the upper 70s versus mid 80s. And right now our temperatures are back in the mid 60s. So again, it's a lot cooler, at least if you live in San Francisco. Inland communities like Concord, you're still in the 90s right now, and it's going to stay hot through tomorrow as well. Those high temperatures are likely going to be anywhere from 5 to over 10 degrees above average, very similar to what we felt today. And we're going to continue to see one more day of this heat before a big cool down heads our way with a lot more comfortable air as soon as Thursday. So tomorrow, if you like the heat, enjoy yourself. Low 70s along our coastal communities, upper 70s in downtown San Francisco, upper 80s to low 90s from our North Bay down to the South Bay, and then upper 90s across our inland East Bay communities. Another day right on the cusp of that triple-digit mark. And those of us without air conditioning along our coastal communities, another day where you're going to have to keep those fans pumping all day long. However, what I want to show you is by Sunday. Look at the temperature contours. You notice those colors in pink? Those signify the 90s. Look at Thursday, though. You don't see those pinks anymore. In fact, most of us are in those yellows and oranges, and that signifies the 80s, if not 70s, that are going to be at the peak of your forecast high on Thursday across those inland areas, sitting in the low 80s across our inland East Bay, 70s from the south to the North Bay, and then upper 60s directly along the coast. So a lot more comfortable air is on the way as soon as Thursday. But this is a very substantial cool down, and you might be wondering, why exactly are we feeling such a big cool down? Well, it actually all has to do with the tropical system that is currently swirling just off the coast of Mexico right now. It used to be a tropical storm. Now it's a tropical depression. It continues to weaken as it heads into the cooler waters of the Pacific. But as it does so, it's actually going to skirt along the west coast of the United States. So we are expecting the moisture from this tropical depression to head all the way to California by as soon as we step out Thursday. In fact, we'll begin to see some upper level cloud coverage as soon as late tomorrow afternoon and evening, and then thicker low-level cloud coverage into Thursday and Friday. It's also going to bring us the potential for some rain. This is just one of our many, many models that we have to look through. It's still very uncertain exactly how much, if any, of that rain is going to fall in the Bay Area. In fact, early this morning, most of the models are trending towards Southern California and the Sierra seeing rain. But as of this evening, the models are beginning to trend towards the central part of the state and the Bay Area seeing a bulk of the moisture. So by tomorrow morning, that could all potentially change. There is a lot of model variability in the forecast. So whether or not we actually see rain from this system, it is still very unknown. But what we do know for sure is it is going to be a lot cooler on Thursday. It is going to be a lot cloudier, and there is the potential for dry lightning from this system. So fire danger is going to be something that we're going to be keeping a very, very close eye on Thursday and into Friday if no moisture is able to come out of this system. But I have my fingers crossed that at least we get a little bit of something to wet the very dry fuel on the ground so that we won't have to worry about that fire danger. But again, Thursday and Friday, those are the days to look out for, and maybe even keep an umbrella handy in case we do get a bulk of that moisture. We'll keep you updated though, because again, those models are changing by the hour. And then as you step out into the weekend hours, luckily, it'll be a lot quieter, it'll be a lot sunnier, and you won't have to worry about any rainfall. So if you have any weekend plans like I do, we are going to be seeing a lot quieter, a lot calmer conditions, a beautiful weekend to get out and about. But again, Thursday and Friday, those are the days to keep your eyes on. Jules, over to you.
Wonderful weekend ahead. All right, Zoe, thank you. Coming up at 6 o'clock, an East Bay father deported to Mexico after decades of living in the U.S. illegally. And now his family is trying their best to stay positive and stay afloat as long as they can.
Just a whole bunch of stuff started coming to my mind. I can't get a job right away. Am I going to lose my home? I'm going to end up in the street with my kids.
Our Katie Nielsen travels from Livermore to Mexico City for a special report on Miguel Lopez's fight to get home to his family. All that and more coming up at 6 in about 10 minutes. Let's get to my buddy Vern for a look at sports.
KPIX Sports is powered by Kia. Learn more at kia.com. Kia, movement that inspires.
All right, here we go. Baseball up top of the Giants. 12 games left. This is a bad time for a 3-game losing streak. San Francisco now has dropped 2 games back of the last wild card spot and were jumped in the standings last night by tonight's opponent, the Diamondbacks. Most anticipated moment last night, the debut of top prospect Bryce Eldridge. The 20-year-old went 0 for 3, but showed his power. Just missed a home run ball in the 7th. Eldridge found out that he was being called up to the bigs on Sunday while he was at the airport about to fly back to Sacramento.
My bag was about to go through the security machine, and then my phone was face up and saw I was getting a call from our manager. It was literally in the bin next to my backpack and my belt and whatever else was in there. And it was face up, and my buddy Thomas Gavello was standing there, and he saw it. He was like, "You should probably take that." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And then I'm just standing in the middle of security, and it's like going to the show. So it's pretty cool.
NFL and the 49ers, they've got their home opener Sunday against Arizona. Despite spending the first 2 weeks of the season on the road, the team was able to enjoy some of the comforts of home. 49er faithful traveled well to Seattle for week 1, and this past Sunday in New Orleans, they made the Superdome feel like Levi's Stadium. Kyle Shanahan could even tell Niner fans were taking over the Big Easy the day before the game.
Coming back from our walkthrough on the bus Saturday, just seeing a bunch of groups of Niner fans walking around. So I know our guys travel well, but it seems like we travel here better. The stadium almost seemed 50-50.
I love it. And everywhere we go and we see 49ers fans, and it just turns me up. Like, I can't wait, and it kills me if I can't play. And knowing like we got all these old faithful here, it's like, that's what it's about.
College football. After starting the year ranked 4th in the country, Clemson's record is 1-2 and has fallen out of the top 25. Despite leading the Tigers to 2 national championships, some fans are ready to move on from Coach Dabo Swinney, but he doesn't plan on going anywhere anytime soon.
We're a little down right now, take your shots, but I got a long memory, in case y'all don't know. We'll be all right. Clemson's tired of winning. They can send me on my way, but I'm going to go somewhere else and coach. I ain't going to the beach. Hell, I'm 55. I got a long way to go. Y'all going to have to deal with me for a while. I got a long way to go. I'm just getting going. I'm just now good enough to be a head coach. I'm just now figuring it out. So we'll be around a while.
Ryan, this reminds me of the banquet joke when the ball coach steps up there at the dais after an 11-1 season, big cheers, and he says, "Will you love me if we go 6-5 next year?" And a booster from the crowd yell, "Yeah, we'll love you, coach, and we'll miss you too."
It's all about
That's
winning.
how it is.
It's all about winning now.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Vern. Well, up next, we're going to take you to Sonoma County for a look at why the area has been named a top destination for accessible travel.
It is really critical that we meet the needs of our travelers, and this is a growing and important need.
Yeah.
Well, accessibility is becoming more of a focus for many tourism destinations to ensure travel is open to everyone. That often means additional steps for disabled travelers beyond what federal law requires. Wendy Gillette explains why Sonoma County has been named a hotspot for accessible travel.
Wheel the World is working to connect travelers with accessible destinations. It helps cities, hotels, and other tourism sites meet accessibility needs and collects the specific information travelers need to visit.
With those data points, we can provide recommendations to those users so they can know in advance what they're going to be dealing with.
The organization has verified the accessibility of 70 destinations, including Sonoma County. Tourism stops include St. Francis Winery, which has accessible seating for tastings, and Safari West, where an adapted vintage vehicle allows every visitor to view the animals up close.
It is really critical that we meet the needs of our travelers, and this is a growing and important need.
Accessibility is also vitally important at hotels. Fairmont Sonoma Mission Inn and Spa has 10 rooms for guests with disabilities, each with 32-inch wide doorways to ensure plenty of space.
The resort where we stayed for a special rate has an accessible spa and other features on its sprawling property.
We embrace travelers of all kinds, and inclusivity is really important to us.
Wine Country Balloons has accessible baskets with doors.
There's no reason why anybody shouldn't be able to fly in a balloon, whether they're wheelchair bound or not.
An invitation for all to soar above Sonoma.
Wheel the World also plans accessible group trips around the globe. That's it for the news at 5.